Hello, it's now 1 o'clock, so we're going to start this presentation. My name is Marta, and I will be your host today as we embark on a journey through our experience as cyclone providers. Firstly, I'd like to welcome you all to this webinar, which will also be available online to be watched at any other time that you find more suitable. I see quite a lot of familiar names in the audience. Thank you for coming out and supporting us, and thank you so much to all the other people that I'm yet to meet. We will begin this presentation by introducing our technology and then move on to some performance considerations and go over relevant case studies at the very end of the presentation. Finally, we'll save time for a Q&A session. For this, I would ask you that you write your questions in the chat at any time you want, and then in the end, we'll go through them. Advanced Cyclone Systems is a company exclusively dedicated to the development of optimized cyclones. So what this means is that we only do cyclones. We are experts in gas-solid separation, and the company's goal is to harness that expertise and help our clients maximize their collection efficiency, comply with emission limits at lower CapEx and OpEx, solve operational problems, and improve sustainability problems. Delving in, we're just going to go quickly about the advantages of cyclones. They're known to most of you. So they're very robust. There's little to no maintenance required, no pressure problems, no moving parts. They work on a dry basis. There's no temperature restrictions. And in fact, we've done quite a few units for high temperatures and conversely also for very low temperatures. There's no electrostatic components. Usually, we'll get down to that. And then there's no physical filters. So there's a vast industrial application field for this sort of equipment. The offset is that they have been notoriously low efficient for very small particles. And we're talking here about less than 10 micron or even less than that. So typically, non-optimized traditional cyclones need to be complemented with other separators due to their low efficiency. The solution that we found for this problem is to develop more efficient cyclones. And the way to go about it is to further understand and optimize cyclonic separation. So it is a scientific approach. So where in the past and, well, even currently with other suppliers, the method is really to go empiric and, a lot less often according to models that can be found in the literature. The way that we go about improving cyclone efficiency is understanding separation dynamics. And separation dynamics inside of a cyclone have always been notoriously hard to model. In the late 70s and early 80s, our CTO, Professor Romualdo Salcedo, decided to apply his knowledge of optimization, he's an optimization expert, to cyclonic separation, publishing his own expansion of an existing theoretical model that takes into account the agglomeration that occurs inside of a cyclone. This agglomeration is a well-known phenomenon, and it is more of a clustering effect in that we are not changing the product characteristics. To harness the potential of agglomeration, we have built a software that can calculate particle trajectory inside of the cyclone. We are able to generate a lot of virtual prototypes and run simulations where we feed each cyclone with a number of particles, and then we can analyze which ones were caught and which ones escaped. In the end, we come up with the best model for the client, understanding that the goal might not be efficiency alone. There might be height constraints, other space constraints, pressure drop, and of course, overall cost of the project. We can also further improve collection efficiency by adding mechanical recirculation of part or the whole of the flow and using a power source on top of it if required. However, this is more directed to some niche applications such as nanoparticles, and we will not be going deeper into these solutions in this webinar. However, do feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to know more about these technologies. Go ahead and put it in the chat as well. I can talk about it in the Q&A or just drop me an email and we'll talk about it. ACS's competitive advantage is sustained by this unique ability to accurately predict, estimate, and then consequently guarantee a requested efficiency, resulting not only in better cyclones, but cyclones that have been tuned for a very specific application. We were talking about agglomeration, harnessing the potential for this agglomeration. So what we're talking about is the effect of some particles colliding inside of the cyclone, and in particularly when these collisions are productive. And by that, we mean that a large particle managed to drag along a smaller particle. And this improves the efficiency of the smaller range of particle sizes. It follows then that the more collisions we have inside of a cyclone, the better. And also that these collisions do actually result in larger particles dragging along smaller particles. What further impacts cyclone efficiency? The longer a particle stays inside of a cyclone, the better chances you have at catching it. And so when I talk about improving residence time, and I will be talking about it, this is what we mean. And how do we improve residence time? Well, we need larger, longer cyclones, and these, of course, do come at a cost. We were talking about the collisions, and so to get a really productive collision, usually the difference in size of the two particles needs to be as large as possible. In practical terms, what we need is a wide particle size distribution in order to get better results. This is just going for a quick explanation of how our software works. We feed all the operating conditions into our model, and so this is gas composition, temperature, particle size distribution, particle density. And in this virtual model, well, a few thousand virtual models, we feed 300,000 particles and we calculate trajectory for each one. And then the first thing we're going to check of our model is, have there been collisions? And if there haven't been any collisions or little collisions, then we increase residence time. And if, on the other hand, there have been collisions, then we're going to ask, are these collisions productive? So are the larger particles dragging along the smaller particles? And if they are, we're happy. We have a new solution that fits our client's needs. And if they're not, we're going to need to increase speed. We play around with 8 dimensions to get to the model that we need for the client. Over the years, we have come up with, a few models that we know have tried and tested results. We do, of course, also test this in our lab and industrial pilots. And we have come to, a few families that we tweak to meet client requirements. So at this point, you have these 3 main groups. You can see there on the left, some more compact models. These can do away with a lot of powder at low pressure drop and low occupied volume. In the middle, we have our high efficiency cyclones. These are excellent process cyclones, and then it can also be used as an end stage filter, depending on the product. And then on the right, we have our end agglomerators. So these are very high-end cyclones. They tend to be used whenever you have very strict emission limits or high-value powders. The following slide shows how efficiency might change for these families of cyclones for one particular application. In this case, it's fly ash from a biomass boiler. And so you see there, for instance, the RE, third from the top. It cuts back emissions when compared to the HR by about 50%. And then you can halve those again with the MK there at the very top. And so now we're going to circle back to the residence time, the occupied volume. And you can see here, you have the HR there right in the middle. And if you're going to talk about, identical cyclones, all 1 meter in diameter, but the different models. We had talked that the RE would cut back emissions from VHR at about 50%, but you could see that the volume occupied would be more than double. And then for the MK, double again. We're going to start going over a few case studies. We're going to start with pharmaceutical industry. Particle separation is required for the production and processing of a wide variety of synthetic and natural active pharmaceutical ingredients, APIs, as well as final product formulations, FPFs, in the powder form. Efficient of powders after spray drying can be quite challenging, especially for very expensive products where you want the maximum efficiency, or for powders with a small and very small particle size, such as inhalables, which we've done quite a few of. Uh, and of course, for very high value products, any separation loss, any losses are really, really expensive. The first one we're going to show here is one of the cyclones we did for Hovio, and I think we did more than 20 in the past 15 years. They're one of our earliest and best clients. Since the beginning, they've been purchasing cyclones from us. They've been replacing their older cyclones from us with newer, more efficient cyclones as we've put them on the market. This application now on screen is for an API capture, an inhalable API capture. Their existing cyclone at the time had an efficiency about 83%. So we're talking about 17% losses to a baghouse, and we increased that to 96%. Mind you, this is our mid-range model. We are now actually supplying even more efficient models than this for the same kind of operating line. And the challenge for Actavis in this case, Actavis, of course, has now been purchased by Teva. Teva were already clients of ours, and then they went on to buy quite a few more of these units. But their goal was actually just waste management, in that they were not sure in their tablet press how much they were losing. And so this set of cyclones, they just weigh the catch pot at the end of each batch, at the end of the day, just to account for losses. Now going on for food ingredients, I think this is going to speak to a lot of the people present here today. The need to separate powder-based food ingredients occurs in a lot of industries. So dairy, chocolate making, beverages, starches, yeasts, we've done for all of these processes. Will, of course, be spray drying, flash drying, milling, mixing. In a typical spray drying arrangement, this is for dairy, we could see that we might come in first stage separation, so process cyclones, or come in later for emission compliance, which also has the added product recovery. Using cyclones in the food industry instead of baghouses allows for quick product rotation without the hazard of cross-contamination or fiber contamination from the baghouse. Cleaning and sterilizing is also much quicker. Process cyclones, as efficiently as possible, are great to minimize losses of first-grade product. And then, of course, having a final dedusting system on a dry basis in a full sippable equipment also allows for further powder recovery. The logic behind choosing the right combination of equipment in a spray drying arrangement really depends on both the severity of the emissions of the first cyclone, so the losses, and the value of the powder that we're trying to catch. And so it goes that, for moderately to low value powder, we can just go for a regular first stage cyclone followed by a baghouse, depending on those emission limits. Once the value of the powder goes up, then the logical option is a higher efficiency first stage cyclone, again followed by a baghouse or a scrubber. And for really valuable products, we advise on putting a second stage cyclone for maximum first grade yield. I was talking about, the emission limits. We have people here from all over the world, and it does vary greatly how much you can comply with. It's we've seen 10, we've seen 20, 50, 150. So it really, really depends. Some clients, some countries even you just need to comply with something just to have that end stage filter. In this application for Arla in Denmark, it's like a cyanate plant. We managed to replace a couple of process cyclones. These process cyclones weren't bad per se. Their efficiency was close to 97%, but this still meant about 320 tons of losses per year. And we increased this efficiency to 99.2%. This was guaranteed, and it has, of course, been measured. And so Arla went on to buy another set of 2 hurricane cyclones for a similar setup in another plant. They were actually a little smaller. One of our most recent projects was this project for Firmenich in Norway. Firmenich, of course, one of the greatest companies in the world for flavors and aromas. Their goal here was actually not to improve efficiency. That has just been, a very agreeable side effect. What they needed to do was alleviate their wet scrubber, which was overloaded. And this is a fish meal flash dryer. So the flavors here are fish, seafood, shellfish. We replaced the process cyclone for that flash dryer with a set of 4 RE cyclones, and the measured efficiency of these cyclones has meant a decrease in losses by over 90%. Firmenich are really happy with the results, and they have now invited us to look over a number of other plants around the world to see where we might improve their operation, especially with their goals of zero waste and sustainability. For Nestlé in Portugal, this is actually in our islands, in the Azores off the coast. And this plant has also been purchased by Bell in the past few years. In here, it's an emission control problem in that they needed an end-stage filter to comply with 75 milligrams at the outlet of the stack, and we put in a set of MKs, and we guaranteed 40 milligrams, and we have complied with those milligrams. The client's really happy because they were really keen to avoid a baghouse because of the operational costs, not only the purchase, but also the operation, the day-to-day operation and downtime of operating with a baghouse. These 2 cyclones just went out to Barry-Caillebout in Belgium. So this is a chocolate milling operation. The client needed maximum efficiency. So in fact, it's a set of 2 cyclones in series, not in parallel. So you have there on the left a mid-range cyclone, which can deal with a lot of load. And then you have the high-end agglomerator in the end that is particularly kind to, low concentration at the inlet and low particle size to do away. And so we're beginning here with a lot of load and then coming back to 100 milligrams, which is in fact what they need to comply with emission limits. They need to comply with 150 actually. We've done a few projects for these at freezing temperatures, anything involving fat, of course. So fat powder, cocoa powder, chocolate. We've done Nesquik for Nestlé as well. And lastly, in terms of food ingredients, this is the paprika powder plant in Spain. It's a milling line. They were having a lot of problems and complaints about neighbors because of the smell. They put in our cyclones. We're doing, of course, something in the high 90s, guaranteed emissions below 150. It's actually quite below that. And it's actually a funny story in that the way that they check that the plant is working is that they circle a little bit of the flow back to the offices. And so if it ever smells of paprika, they know that it must be clogged, that there's something wrong with the operation. Chemical powder. So particle separation is required for the production and processing of a wide variety of different products, organic and inorganic chemical powders, could be drying, it could be milling, pigments, dyes, fertilizers, metal hydroxides and oxides, zinc, carbides, plastics, and so many others. And we've done quite a few of these already. One of our first projects that we've been working with this company forever is Bondalti here in Portugal. Bondalti is the #1 Portuguese producer of organic derived chemicals. This plant, this particular line is for sulfonylic acid, and they needed to reduce particulate matter under 100 milligrams with an inlet of 31 grams. The client had a first stage cyclone, a process cyclone, but the emissions for those were very, very high. And the baghouse, they wanted to avoid at all costs. It would bring them significant operational challenges. And so they've been working with our cyclones for quite a number of years, and they're very happy about it and went on to purchase quite a few other systems. In fact, we not only gave them 100 milligrams at the outlet, but close to 40. So this is an efficiency of about 100%, 99.9%, with particulates with a median size of 28 microns, quite small. This is an air liquide project. This is a plant in Poland. In this case, it's also a bit of an emission control issue in that they actually don't want the powder. This is a compressed air plant, and so it is the compressed air itself that hurts the ducts. It deteriorates the ducts, and so in time, there's iron oxide particles floating around, which of course hurt the quality of the product that is meant for medical use. And so we supply this cyclone for them with a guaranteed efficiency of about 90%. For NTE Noltec in Poland, Noltec represents Okawara, the Japanese drying company. And this is a project actually for Johnson Matthey. It was this mega plant that they were doing for lithium hydroxide. The client, so Johnson Matthey, asked for an efficiency of about 98% on the 5 micron size. And in fact, we gave them an efficiency of 99.3%, so far above that on the 5 micron size. Johnson Matthey has, of course, since divested their interest in the lithium business. This is quite at the end now. So we do also do, of course, general dedusting and recovery, and this for such a wide range of applications, but a lot of them in dust collectors in food processing plants, dust extraction systems, air exhaust systems, coating facilities. We do a lot of coating, and pharmaceutical clean rooms. Dedusting is essential for maintaining a safe and healthy work environment, for minimizing the risk of equipment failure and downtime, but also to prevent product loss and product contamination. In this case, I'm going to show you this one we did for Mondelez in Brazil. Mondelez, of course, also one of the largest food groups in the world. ACS designed and supplied 5 Hurricane Cyclone Systems for soluble juice powder. And this is a recovery from their bag filling line. So it's the dedusting of the bag filling line. Mondelez was losing about 600 kilograms of product per day, so across 5 identical lines. And you can see there, from the size of it, that we're not talking about, a lot of production. It's just a lot of losses. The system is capable of reducing losses by about 99%, and we have since measured losses in the range of 7 kilograms per day. Okay, we are now at the end of the webinar, and I will be taking questions from the audience. For this, please, again, write your questions in the chat, and thank you for bearing with me so far. I think the end is near. We're just now going to chat a little bit about what might be your concerns or your questions about our technology. So thank you.